Hang on. This isn't a Nando's menu. This is the
I've
good
been
balance
tricked.
Dataslate.
I've been duped. Hello and welcome to Turning Point Tactics, the competitive Kill Team 40k podcast and YouTube channel focused on giving you the strategies and tactics to siege initiative every turning point. I'm your host Ryan, and I'm joined by the impeccable timing of another balanced data slate to our YouTube schedule, Connor. How you doing this evening, Connor?
Good, thanks, Ryan. It's been this 2 for 2 now.
So it's like whenever we release something, it's the best thing. It's like, why now is the best time to play Kill Team? Don't worry about Chaos Cults. Well, literally, don't worry about Chaos Cults. We were hit by a big nerf hammer. Incredible timing. So
I think we obviously feel so privileged that we're being listened to and immediately reacted upon by Games Workshop. But actually, I think it shows just how much we're looked after as a community. I think they're constantly got an eye on it and they're constantly tweaking and changing it.
For sure.
That means that when we release a video, it's quite likely to have a data slate behind it somewhere. Because of how much
I mean, the turnaround time at the moment is like probably 12 hours between us releasing video and GW releasing a whole heap of changes.
Yeah, they are reacting quickly.
So they are like finger on the pulse with the Turning Point Tactics Kill Team channel. But no, you're right, because this is it's a really cool thing because it shows that they are invested. They actually care about what the community thinks, how the community reacts. And they are, they genuinely want to make sure the game is a really good game, which is pretty cool to see. And I think sort of the brief overview of us looking at this data slate, I think overall it's pretty good. It's
welcome changes, aren't they?
Yeah, I think there's nothing in it that I am annoyed at. I mean, the in-session bits are still in there, but that's fine.
Still salty about this section. Still, I mean, it's been months. It's been months. Kill Team Just Ian is around the corner.
I need to get days since last complained about intercession there. It's always at 0. Reset the clock. All right, so should we just go into talking through the balanced data slate, what the various changes were? I think the first one I want to start with is Pathfinders.
Oh, happy with Pathfinders, yeah.
So, and they've done some quite good targeted changes, I think, because they effectively looked at why they were overperforming, changed that, and then why they're now underperforming in a very niche way. And it feels to me like they're doing a good job of targeting that. I think there's a little bit of, you could use it in open board to make them slightly stronger in certain missions, but then they're losing something else. They're losing the Mont kill, which they've been so reliant on for so long. So, well, do you want to talk us through what you think the
you tricked me. He told me he sent me the Nando's menu, and it's actually it's the only way I could come here to see him face to face. He knows me too well. But so Pathfinders. Add the following to call your Art of War ability. In addition, once in each of their activations, friendly Pathfinder operatives can perform a mission action or the pick up action for one less action point to a minimum of 0 AP. And on close quarters, each friendly Pathfinder operative can perform the guard action while it has a conceal order. If it does, interrupts as normal, but instead of making a guard attack, it may only perform the marker light action if able.
So I really like. So two buffs here, both focused on ITD. Really,
yes, I think so.
So the Corion one is pretty cool because what I like about it is it affects the internal balance of the team, because before you're always taking Monka. I think you played one game as a trial way back when where you're like, I'm going to give this a go, see what it's like. And you're like, yeah, it's terrible, never playing it again. And I do still think Monka is a stronger option open boards in most circumstances. But what this is going to do in Into Dark, which I think is really cool, is so Into Dark, generically, turn 1, everyone's going to just stack up on doorways, right? So you're going to have a whole bunch of gun line people hiding behind a door, ready to breach through and do a bunch of stuff on turn 2. And the one thing that Tau really struggled with was they would have 2 actions, so they would open the door and then shoot, but as you know, no marker lights means that your shooting is not reliable. And so they would open the door, shoot once, not kill anyone, get charged in the doorway, and get horribly murdered in combat. And that kind of repeated itself in every single doorway, right?
Yeah.
Whereas now, what's really nice is to get the free mission action, they can crack open that doorway, and then they can marker light and shoot. So suddenly, if you have a high intensity marker light in the doorway, you apply 2 marker lights, you have someone just 3 inches away, you're bonded, you're putting out 2 marker lights, no cover, 2 rerolls. That's a pretty nice way to do it. And you can also give them the target analysis optic suddenly you're hitting on threes, you're getting your 2 rerolls. That's the sweet spot for reliability that you really, really want with Tau. So I think that's a really nice change for their mechanics into the dark and how you can play them in that sort of way. I think it's going to give them a lot more flex because they did struggle with the doorways and fighting through. So I think that's a really positive change. I think it also helps them play the mission because the other thing they struggled with is if you're trying to get onto it turn 1, let's say you need to get out there and get on the objectives. Well, if you can't open the door and move onto objective and capture it, well, you're immediately you're into a tough position. Whereas now they can recon dash forward on the flanks. They can then move through the doors with a mission action to open it for free, and then they can actually open the doors as well, which is again really nice. So I think that's a pretty good change. Retaining 2 covered ice is another good perk. If you're getting shot at again on the way back, then away you go. So I think that's a pretty good change for them. Change 2 is the Mark Light on Guard. I think this is probably useful where you see a lot of times people just like hiding on the corners, or they're gonna open up a doorway and move through, but you've already moved all your guys. So actually what this lets you do is on turn 1 is open up some of those doorways should you want to, and put a guy on guard next to it, and then you might be able to stack some Mark Light tokens early. Personally, I don't see it as being as impactful as the previous change to Koyon, in my opinion. But we'll see. And because the other thing about Koyon is it only works on 1 turn, right? It's a big thing to remember. But generically, you just want to open the doors once.
Yeah. And
then let your troops move through, right? So I think it works well as a change. I'm pretty happy with it. I don't know if we'll see people pick up Pathfinders. I don't think Pathfinders are that weak. I think people just aren't playing them that much at the moment. And the sort of like the people who are sort of like really casual Tau guys that are just like, well, I just enjoy Pathfinders and I'm not here to stomp face. Maybe we'll see a bit of a competitive return to these guys now. Particularly looking at some of the other changes that have happened in the meta, but I guess we'll have to wait and see. Any thoughts on it, Connor?
Yeah, one thing, just going back to the first point, I think it allows them, with Koyon, to be a bit more agile with that mission action. Because beforehand, just the nature of having a 2 AP team, you have to comms buff, really, if you wanted to, like, move dash tap or something like that, or get by. Yeah. Now you're like, no, I can just like smash open the door, get through. Like have a like Monka was like a really aggressive turn 2, but in a different way for ITD. But I'm not. I quite like the light idea because I think you were always going to struggle with marker lights. People would like notoriously move out of the way and get out of the way, and it was hard to build lights on ITD. Now being able to interrupt, you could catch someone when they're mid-move, and if a door's open, see them, put 2 lights on them. And if you build up enough lights, if you get to 4, you ignore an obscuring, and now maybe those rails aren't as useless. I think I've no idea. We haven't had a chance to really test it, but I'm definitely interested in what this will bring.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. And also, I guess a little bit of, if you know you're throwing a guy to be sacrificial and die on a point, at least he can put some mark lights out before he goes, like.
So in my head, that's not what you're doing it for, because maybe you just be on engage and guard normally and shoot. Surely you're at the back, a long way away, waiting for an opportunity, like a gap maybe. That someone's moving to then go, oh, you can have 2 lights and I'm prepping, I'm building lights on you. Because it's 2 lights in their turn. And then in your turn, you can go another 2 lights from your blooded who's unconcealed and shoot you.
Yeah, I don't know. I just feel, my impression is, I just don't see it being that useful. Like I think
fair enough.
Turn 2 you're going to be shooting. Turn 1 maybe lets you get a few extra mark lights off, generically.
Yeah, maybe there's a... well, actually, it's turn 1 when you Koyon, because there's going to be all the doors and you want to be getting out and doing stuff.
So there is a potential for that. I think you have to look at how far away the objectives are. So if it's the only way, like let's say you're playing secure or loot, the only way I get on these objectives and actually get the job done on turn 1 is Koyon, well then, in a weird way, you do the patient hunter thing of rush out the doors straight away.
Patiently.
No, patiently. Get on those objectives and loot it. Turn 1. But yeah, if you're playing as like commandos and they've already got loads of guys up ahead of you and they're going to be trying to go for a 4-point swing on turn 1, or even like on some of the ITD maps, they're going to loot 5 points, only get 4 themselves, but deny you just 1 VP.
Yeah.
Ugh, gross. That kind of thing is where I can see it potentially being important. So, yes, I think if you're on like capture, probably a turn 2 thing, But it really depends on the map layout. And IT is one of those weird ones where you have to like really plan through your turn one and how it's going to go. But you're right, maybe that's the way to do it. You know, maybe you do just go out and rush up, open up all the doors in turn one, and just get it done.
I don't know, because I haven't historically been using Pathfinders because they have struggled. I think this is an instrument to bring them back in line. And like we said, we had a game of the day. It didn't feel like they were now oppressive on open board. It still felt like this is focused on ITD more than anything. So excited for their changes.
Yeah, so we'll see how it goes. All right, got a Warp Coven's next.
Warp Coven. Okay.
It's the last bullet point because there's so many changes in that one.
This is more than 300 words. How do you expect me to read this? Okay. Archetypes. Now recon all security, regardless of operative selected.
Yeah, cool. So it used to be you had to take, I think it was 5 Zangals, which ultimately means you have to take 6, which is just too many damn birds, if I'm honest. And then for the security, you had to take 2 or 3 rubrics, whatever it was. So you ended up basically getting locked into a very specific play style. So I think this is it's like a really subtle change, which is something I actually did ask for. I should probably put my money where my mouth is. That's hard to say. Not easy for me to say, I should say. Anyway, but and actually play the team, right? Because I feel now, because you have fly, you have the teleport ability, you can suddenly get a rubric or a sorcerer onto advantage quite easily. So secure advantage is actually doable. And then if you get a soul reaper cannon up on advantage in cover, well that's going to put some hurt out, potentially. So that's pretty cool. And then I think recover item, that's actually quite achievable with the Time Walker +1 movement. You're moving up the board, you're getting it. Your 3 APL model, they're going to commit quite a lot to you if they want to try and deny it. And then you potentially pick up some double kills. And then you're looking at either Surge Forward or Courier maybe. I think some good options there. And they also, because they have the ability, you could always do something a bit wacky, where you do let's say outflank turn 1 and turn 2, and you see if you max it. You do outflank turn 1. Is that one where you can't?
I think you can. It's just harder because you have to
go
be
so far forward.
Yeah, you have to be out of your deployment zone basically.
Yeah. So, but anyway, you can give it a go. You can see if it's working for you, and maybe you make your opponent miss position. Then you spend a CP and be like, actually, boop, it's Courier, and I'm going to put this guy over here with Courier. I think that could be a good way of potentially getting you an alternative way of getting some VP. So they've changed a lot for this team. Security is significantly better for them. Now they've got access to recon as well. And the rubrics themselves are actually pretty good.
Yeah.
4 attacks on 3s, 4/4 damage with the gargoyle, but bayonet. Yeah, I'll take that. You can punch some poor guys to death. So I think they're in a good place, or they're in a better place. Is it enough to put them up to top of the meta? I don't know. I don't think they're going to be, dominating the top tables anytime soon. Is it enough to put them into the B tier? Yeah, maybe. I kind of want to get them on the table and give them a feel and see how they do, because they do have huge amounts of toolbox. All their spells and stuff are so useful. I talked about the forward deploying knob with his dynamite, and he goes, "I'm going to APL buff myself." And you just go, I think it's Weave of Fates or something. You just go, or Twist of Fates, and you just say no APL modifiers for you. And he goes, "Oh. I'm just here then, am I?" And it's yep. And you invested your entire turn into this alpha strike. So yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see. They're pretty good in ITD. Most tournaments are going mixed now. I think it's going to be good for them. I can't see it going too badly. That's kind of my hot take on it. I don't know. Recon's one of the better archetypes.
Yeah.
People are getting around it now. They know what they're doing with it, so people are getting a bit better at preempting how to deny it. But I still think you can get some quite good VP from them. So yeah, I think it's a good change for the team. But any thoughts?
It's just a nudge in the right direction, and I think it's a small tweak which I quite like, because if we have massive swings, that's when we start seeing huge shakes up to the meta. So it seems positive. Let's see what happens. Let's see what.
Yeah, I think
out.
so.
Yeah.
Next change, Connor, is Gellerpox Infected.
Rust Emanation Strategic Ploy, while within engagement range of a friendly Nightmare Hulk operative only. So Do you want to remind us what is Rust eliminations and what's changed here?
So Rust eliminations is when you basically count as being wounded. And so this was really quite oppressive when you played like a melee team. So interestingly, this is kind of like a buff to Felgor Ravagers. And
They needed it.
In this matchup, I actually think it's a good thing. You know what I mean? Because they've got a hit elsewhere now, which I think is going to be good for the overall balance.
Spoilers.
Oh yeah, sorry, we're getting ahead of ourselves. But like, so I kind of like that as a thing. Anyway, so Galapox have been overperforming. They've been overperforming for ages, and melee teams have been really struggling into them. I think there's an element of you have to know how to play against Galapox, and it's basically in sum the conceal order is not your friend. You just go out the door just trying to do as much damage as possible. And what this lets melee teams do is kill the other, like the mission operatives that you actually need to clear out. That the ones that score Galapox points. You kill them as efficiently and as quickly as possible. This helps you do that, and then you hope that they can't outscore you, because the big guys, and this is kind of like the same for Colts as well. They're a bit of a distraction, Carnifex. Like you can sink your entire team into trying to kill this one thing, or you could kill everything around it. And like the Hulks might kill, they can kill 2 a turn if they spend a CP for fight twice. But it's rare that they're killing more than 2 a turn. I mean, I guess you could get the Torrent Flamer off and lose more, but generically, it's 2 a turn. And so if they only have 4 Hulks killing, well, that's 8 models. That's every single one of their Hulks killing 2. Well, that's not possible because they need CP for that. You're probably losing maximum 5-6 models a turn. And if you killed everything else on the table, then you're going to massively outscore them. And I don't think they'll actually kill that many, because they won't all be in charge range. They won't all be that. So you just have to just hold these things back a little bit. And I think this is a nice change. It hits them again in their reliability of their killing and their melee potential, because it also affects their durability. Because when you're in melee's a trading game, right? Like, it's just I hit you, you hit me, I hit you, you hit me. But if you're wounded and you don't have as many hits, well, you don't hit them and they parry you out and then they just kill you. Well, suddenly that's one way. It becomes like shooting. So this has hurt their durability a bit, which I like. It means that those weaker models are easier to kill, and it's just the 4 big boys now that are the scary ones. But I don't see them too much of an issue. So I think we probably need to do a guide at some point of like how I think you play against Galapox Infected, because I do think they're very, very good against players that don't know how to play against them, like very good. And then once you've figured out roughly what the strats are,
cracked it.
It becomes a much more even game. And it's like, oh, actually, if I don't put everyone on conceal turn 1 and I just put everyone on engage, I can actually do a lot of damage to you before you get here, and that's kind of like an interesting thing as well. So yeah, any thoughts on that, Conor?
Just to add to your point about distraction Carnifex, that they're only 2 APL as well, aren't they? So if they're killing you, they're not tapping. They're not.
Oh yeah, well, I think it costs them 2 APL to do a mission objective.
Yeah. So who cares? Like you say, kill all the chaff, and then what are they going to do?
Particularly if you're on loot. Like if you're on loot, then they can kill your entire team, sure. Like, but they're not playing the objective at all. So you got to kill the glitchlings, you got to kill the mutants, you got to kill the side chaff, and then after that it's just 4 big boys that might table you, sure, but who cares? Alrighty, Harkin salvages.
So we've gone from big boys going to little boys now.
Short kings.
Short kings. That's right. Yeah. So they had that small tweak earlier to their movement. Now we've got loads of changes here.
There's so many changes.
One at a time or all at once?
I should go for all at once, and then we'll talk them through, I think.
Add 1 to wounds characteristics of all the operatives. Hearthkin Field Medic Operatives Plasma Knife gains the Lethal 5 special rule. Equipment Plasma Knife, 2 equipment points. Change attacks characteristics to 4, gains the Lethal 5 special rule. Change Thane Operatives Eye of the Ancestors ability to once in each strategy phase, when you would use a strategic ploy or pass, you can select 1 enemy operative to gain a grudge token instead, or 2 enemy operatives if 3 or more friendly Harkin salvagers have been incapacitated.
So much. So let's start at the top. Extra wound changes like bolter maths massively. So suddenly you go to, your 3-4 weapons are far less likely to kill you, combine that with the fact you have a 3-up save. These are little durable boys. They're not going down easily. So that's the first thing. So they're going to hang around a lot. And I think that combined with the movement means that they're going to get to the objectives, they're going to stay on the objectives for longer. I think it's going to have a pretty significant change to them. It's also going to change like their melee abilities as well, because like going from 7 to 8 wounds for a lot of the melee profiles is a significant jump, right? Because then you need like a actual dedicated melee guy to kill you, like a 4 or 5 chainsaw or something like that. And then you go, cool, well, melee is kind of a weak point, right? Well, actually, if you were having 4 attacks and you're lethal 5-3-5, well, against like elves and that sort of stuff, hitting people for 5 damage then puts them into a 2-hit range, which makes like Chikari and Corsairs and Harlequins charging you become far more risky. They have to spend for Jest or something like that, which they've never probably spending for before. So that helps them out as well. It also means you're more likely to be able to parry and survive on parries, because like, let's say you need a crit to kill someone, or you need 2 crits, whatever. Well, a lot of time people roll crits and you go, well, I'll parry that out. Or you get the classic, you hit them once for 3 damage, but you have a crit, they didn't roll a crit, and you hit them for 5, and suddenly you kill an 8-wound model, like much more reliably. So that's a really nice change. That's going to massively help their melee potential, which I think is pretty good. And then you combine that with the way that they've redone the Thane. So it used to be during his activation, he could put out one of these tokens, right? So he'd be like, oh, that guy over there is now going to have a Judgment token, which a Judgment token lets you retain a hit as a crit. So, and for each one you have, you can do that. So potentially you can get a lot of crits. Well, now he just goes in the strategy phase, boom. And is it instead of using a ploy? Which...
yeah, when you would use a strategic ploy or pass.
Yes. Yeah, so this is and this can be quite nice as well. If you're waiting out to see what your opponent's going to use and use their CP on as well, it just gives you a little bit extra time to go, actually, I'm going to check a Judgment token over there. And suddenly you get an extra ability just to go, oh, actually, what do I need my CP for this turn? Oh, they've spent it on this, therefore I'm going to spend it on this. I don't know if they have any reroll ploys, the Hearthian Salvages. They have the increased ballistic skill, but anyway, I guess I have the strategic one. So, but yeah, you might then want to go, oh, okay, you as the breaches, you put your attack order over here, so I'm going to put my attack order thing over here, and you can mix it up, and then you go, I'm going to put Judgment token over here. You get to react a little bit more, which is quite nice. So that's good as well. And that's it for their buffs. So extra move, extra wound, better knives,
lethal, yeah.
Thane. That's a lot. And I think so. And this is kind of like the one of the points to look at when it comes to meta, is when you have like a bottom performing team, and you shift them up. Well, if all the top performing teams have been shifted down as well, then suddenly like the scale of the changes can become significantly more. And I feel like Hearthian Salvages have a huge toolbox. Like they have got so many different abilities, and they can like really flex to what your opponent's bringing. So they've got weapon options. They've got like potentially some really nice blast weapons. They've got methods of rerolls, not the best, but they do have them. They've got some good melee guys. So now I'm thinking, well, actually, these guys could potentially be like pretty strong. And I think we might see some Hearthian Salvages towards top tables. I generally think that they might be up there, because, I think they have almost everything they need. I just need to go and actually get some, build them, and get them painted. So maybe it's a project for MGS Miniatures soon.
Oh yeah, send it up to someone else to paint. Sorry.
Obviously, I'm not doing it. I mean, like, if I want to look awful and take 3 years, then yeah, sure, I'll get it done. But if I want it done in a reasonable time and to look half decent, I know who I'm going to. Yeah, so I think this is good for them. But any thoughts? From
very,
you?
very positive changes. 2 points, and I keep asking my girlfriend this, so I don't get sincere. Is 5 inches enough? I'll ask you now. But also, just going back to the point you made, I quite liked it, the idea of popping your grudge token almost as a tempo to see how your opponent reacts. Do you have to be careful of like teams that can move in the strategy phase. If you
Yeah.
pop it on someone, then they're gonna and they recon sweep away.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah. So you are right, and you have to, and that's why I like, because they have the ability to do the rerolls one. So they place an attack order, and if you kill people nearby it,
yeah,
you get your rerolls. So that's one thing you might want to be like baiting out their recon sweep.
yeah,
At the end of the day, they could always just pass, right? And
yeah.
they can pass until you do it, and then they do their thing. But like, there's a potential where they go, oh, I'm going to be really smart about it, and I'll pass and see where you put your token down. You just go pass. And then they go, oh no, and the amount of times that Jakari players have done that, where they go like, oh, I get an extra CP if I pass in the first turn. I'm like, I don't care, pass. It's like, but I have all the ploys I want to use. It's like you can enjoy
You've got
that
CP now.
You can enjoy that CP reroll, my
Use it
friend.
next time.
So yeah, I think there's a little bit of mind games to that, and but yeah, overall, I think it's a pretty good bunch of changes. I was worried pre-balanced data slate, 8 wounds might be too much for the boys with a 3-up save. Like, I can just see them hanging around for a long. Like, if you don't have AP or you don't have good melee, you might really struggle to clear them off.
Do they
points.
need it because of how hard it is for them to get to the point with that 5 inches?
Absolutely,
That's what I'm thinking.
and maybe I might be completely wrong, and maybe they'll be absolutely bang middle of the pack. Just a little bit of me thinks maybe they're going to be like they're going to be up there.
Yeah.
And I think people just need to play them a little bit more, because like this is a lot of good changes for them. And so I think people are now really like, when they like the competitive community goes, ooh, hang on, what's that over there? And I think that's where we're at now. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see. But I think probably they'll be in a good place. Next one? Yeah, I think it's Vulgar Averages, right?
Fulgor Ravages. They have actually been nerfed here. Incapacitating a Fulgor Ravager operative with a frenzy token, add the following bullet point. Critical damage is inflicted on it in a shooting attack, and while a Fulgor Ravager operative has a frenzy token, it's ignored for the purpose of determining control, e.g. objective markers. So remind us, what is frenzy?
So frenzy is when you first incapacitate a Fulgor Ravager, instead of it being incapacitated, it goes into frenzy, which then means it hangs around until it's completed its next activation, or is subsequently killed. And that used to only be able to kill in melee by putting 2 hits through or a crit through, and that meant that if you're a strong melee team, you could actually punish them, because if you kill it in their activation, well, they go into a frenzy during that activation, but their activation ends and they die. So that's good. So if you were very good at melee, you could do that. Or if they were, if you shot them and they died, you could then charge them and you could kill them. So 3 APL teams that had some good shooting and some decent melee could do the same. Now what the difference is if you get a crit through in shooting, they can get hurt. And I think, for me, this has done a really good job of addressing some of the main problem matchups that they had. So, example 1, Pathfinders.
Yeah.
Like, it's so freaking hard for Pathfinders to deal with that team, because Felgor moves and dash turn 1, and he's taking someone with him. Like, you can kill him,
yeah.
and that's fine. But he's on an objective. He's captured it. He's then going to charge someone. He's going to kill them, and there's nothing you can do about it. Like your models are not good enough in melee to survive. They have relentless, effectively, and they're 4/5 damage. So they're just going to kill you. And you rinse and repeat that 10 times, and they've left you with 2 models remaining, but they've captured loads of objectives, and they've maxed their attack ops probably, and you're left there like, well, this is terrible. And that's assuming, by the way, that you've actually killed 10 models that are 10 wounds each, in turn 1, and you won't. So there's a pretty high chance that actually a lot of those guys are going to net double kills. And so that's where it became really difficult. So you had to block them out and screen them out, and you blast and try and kill as many as you could, and it was rough. And another team that struggled as well was Intercession, because you could just yeet these goats in there, and they could, if you had a gun marine, they would just beat the crap out of you. And if you had a assault marine, well, you're both taking absolute chunks out of each other. It takes him 3 hits to kill you, and it takes you 4 hits. But if you had some of the more damaged weapons, take you 3. But you can be leaving a marine on 2 wounds remaining, and that's assuming that they get their hits and they do a good job and all that sort of stuff. It's like that's rough. And so the sort of the weird counterplay now is that lethal 5p1, you can just be dackering these guys to death and guaranteeing the crits to try and kill them. So
Does this help Phobos?
yeah, it does help Phobos as well, which is another team actually that really struggled because there were 12 wounds, so a Felgor would just yeet in and kill you in 3 hits, and there was like nothing you could do about it. So now they're in a much, much better place because infiltrators can actually kill them with shooting. It's still very difficult to do because there's still 10 wounds, right? So even if you shoot, you need 2 crits and a hit to go through. So like you need to have some good rolls, but it gives you a good chance to do that. So the sort of like I'd say easy plays for Felgor where you would just run forwards are gone now. Right, that you can't do that. That's not at all survivable, which I think is really good. Right? I think that's useful for the game. You've got to play them a lot more smart. You've got to use their synergies. You've got to use the fact that their gong guy, I think it's the gong, stops you from taking crit damage. So you can pseudo be invulnerable to shooting in a 3-inch bubble as long as you have the gong in the right place. That kind of stuff, right? Like it adds layers and makes them more complex to play, which I really enjoy. And the other thing is the objective control, which I think is probably a good change because
makes sense, doesn't it?
Just like yeeting bodies on an objective and people not being able to deal with it is unfair. So this 2 changes, I do think it's going to hurt their win rate. They're up at like 60%. I think they're going to come down. I think they're going to be 50, maybe 45, like that, because I think a lot of people are going to go off them. I think a lot of people were just taking them for the fun. I just yeet myself at you play style, and now it's going to require a more refined, civilized approach. So, Aggression Northern Met is going to be pissed, but
they want to be angry. They're going to get in a frenzy again.
God damn it! But yeah, so I think this is good. I think it's a good change. I think it's in the right areas, and it affects the real problem cases that they had because no one wants to walk into a game with an auto lose, right? Like if you're turning up and you go, oh cool, what have you brought? Oh, Felgor Averages. Oh, sweet, I've got my Pathfinders. Like, you're going to absolutely wreck my face.
There's nothing I can do.
And there's nothing I can do about it. Because if I shoot you and I do well, I die. Like, you just charge me, I die. Whereas now, like a rail rifle, oh, yes, sir. Lethal 5, AP1, yes, please. Like, you're going to shoot them with a pulse gun, hopefully net the kill. Shoot them with a rail rifle, pick up the confirmed kill. Which also does thematically make sense. Like, you can be as angry as you want, but if I put a rail rifle through your head, like you're gonna go down. Right? Like how much can you take?
So immediately I jumped to railgun when I was thinking about this, but also thinking about it. What's their save? Because
they have 5 up save.
Yeah. Now, what about like an EMP grenade? That could do it. Just drop one in from like 6 inches away behind cover, or if it's an ITD as well, where you got frag grenades. I wonder if this has subtly nerfed them on ITD a bit now as well.
You know what? I hadn't thought about the ITD nerfs, but you're right. Like ITD nerfs is significant here because Flamers going to be great for them. Like the Vitiates probably enjoy this.
Flamers suck. We've established
Flamers do suck. Some Flamers are okay, but you're right. Yeah, like and potentially you could, if you could kill multiple, you could then yeet a blast grenade in there and be like, and I will kill the rest and confirm that kill, which I think could be really nice. There's a little bit of technique to that actually. Maybe there's like a GA2 technique with that where you could kill one with like a breacher and then
breachers because they can do like a melter gun and combo or something.
And then have like the group activation where then like the demo guy comes in and does a blast on the guy that you've killed and kills someone else maybe.
Yeah.
Some merit to that, I think. There's something interesting there. So anyway, I think it opens up a whole element that can be played by both sides. How do I get a crit on this model in shooting? Whereas before it was just, I just need to do melee. And I think that's kind of tough for a lot of people. Because some teams just didn't have it. Like, some teams just didn't have power weapons. At which point you go, all right.
Like, looking for a 6, see what happens.
Yeah. And like, so Exaction Squad had this weird thing where you could turn off their rerolls and fight first. So like the shield kind of worked and you're just like doing this weird like stalling game. But yeah, so I think it's a good change for everyone, personally.
Agreed.
Chaos Cults?
Chaos Cults, okay. Iconout Operatives' Ruinous Deterioration and Ruinous Invigoration abilities become unique actions that cost 1 AP, last until the start of that operative's next activation, and Ruinous Invigoration's damage reduction is to a minimum of 3 instead of 2. Mutant and Torment operatives, unnatural regeneration ability, ignore lost wounds on a 6 instead of a 5. Sickening aura strategic ploy while within 2 inches of a friendly mutant or torment operative only. And mutant operatives, blasphemous appendages, change special rule to ceaseless instead of relentless.
So all good changes.
All good changes.
I think Curse Cult's player is going to feel this. Like the 6-up Feel No Pain is a humongous change. Like, and we've been asking for it for ages. I think this is good. Like, they've still got the healing, right? So they can still come back with full wounds. But now at least, like when you're sinking effort into killing these things, that they're going to die a lot easier. Like trying to kill a torment is now, it's just going to feel like a completely different thing. Like you hit it with a plasma gun, and you think to yourself, I've actually got a good chance I'm going to kill this thing. Like if it, rather than hitting it with a plasma gun, you go, I've probably done nothing here, which is like so heartbreaking. So yeah. They've got loads going for them, but I think it's a really good change. The icon arc is now just not as ridiculously oppressive as they were originally. I mean, damage reduction, damage buff, and the world's best flamer mobile all the time is mental. So now being like, well, you got to choose what you want to do, is I think really nice. So I think you'll see the majority of people do damage reduction turn 1. And then maybe they'll do damage reduction turn 2 or the offensive one. Or they'll try and move out and do some flamering. But like now it's become more of a choice, right? So if they're being offensive and they're killing you, well, they're not protecting their models. If they're trying to buff their models that are nearby to make them more killy, well, they're not defending them and they're not killing you. Or that they have to get in a really good position to do both. So that, like, they have to set up, and then you know where it is and you know how it's going to react. So I think this is a nice change. Like that was it was ridiculous beforehand. Choosing which one you want is really good. Weird sort of like meta things that will be happening as a result of this is like the commandos' various methods of Alpha Strike just got better, because now if you can hit them right at the start before they activate their icon arch, then you can actually probably kill them, and you don't have to invest quite so much. So yeah, like there's a few bits there.
But they needed it, didn't they?
They didn't need it. They were wild. The other thing is the Dark Commune models don't get Sickening Aura now, which does make sense. I don't really know why they got it in the first place, just based on what it's called and what it does. But like now not taking that weapon skill and ballistic skill modifier within 2 just means, again, it's kind of like the Galapox thing. If you kill the right models, then you're better off for it. And I do still think that most of the time you don't want to be killing the torments. Most of the time, like you want to be killing the mutants before they become torments, and you want to be killing the Dark Commune models and the devotees. And if you can like, this is why I enjoyed his action squad so much. You could just like shotgun these guys away, the weak ones, the chaff ones, so quickly, and then your opponent starts having these difficult decisions where they go, oh, do I make that guy a torment and play the mission, unless they're playing capture, but like, do I make that guy a torment and play the mission for secure and loot, or do I keep them as a devotee or a mutant so I can actually do that? Like, what do I do? Because if now I'm losing my killing potential. Capture still doesn't apply, but fine. So I think that's a pretty good change. And then Ceaseless versus Relentless, yeah, just makes sense, right? Like,
and confirm, so this is just for the mutants, or the Torment would still get Relentless?
The Torment still gets Relentless. But again, I kind of like that, right? Because, so it starts off, you get 4 attacks hitting on 4s, 2-3. Then you go to 4 attacks hitting on 4s, ceaseless, 3-4. Then you go to 5 attacks, hitting on 4s, relentless, 4-5. So like, you see that natural progression of the demon coming out and then becoming more like, powerful and strong, which again, thematically, love it. When you're a little bit of a demon, you're not that good, but when you're a full demon, you're like really good. So I think that's a great thematic change. And so I like all of these things. I think that's probably going to put them into A tier or somewhere around that. I still think they're really strong. Like, capture for them is such a good mission. They can just regenerate their operatives straight away and get them where they need to be, and have these like really strong models. So I think they're going to be A tier, because because of that. I think they're still going to do a good job. I think they've still got loads of play in them, but they're just not going to be oppressive. And you're actually going to have to be really careful and think a lot about each of your activations and where you put people. You can't just be yeeting guys forwards, going, well, it's fine. Like, they'll just survive and they'll feel no pain. Like they won't. They'll die. And that is a really good change. So I'm excited to see how they play out. I think
they're a cool side, aren't they? They look great. Like thematically, it's almost like Lovecraftian. With
love it.
Anyone could suddenly just burst out and be a demon and say, but they were just overly tuned, weren't they? So it's nice to rein it in a bit.
And I think everyone knew it as well. Like, and to be fair, even the Colts players are going like, I love this team. I love the thematic of this team. I just want to play it and not feel like guilt tripped about it because it's like I enjoy playing this team and they owe that like the community owes it to them as well because everyone wants to have fun playing the game. That's why we get together, and you don't want to be like, well, I'm playing my team, and I'm getting penalised because I'm enjoying playing my team, or like shunned as a result.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think this is a nice change. It's helping everyone out.
Inquisitor and Agent, they also got a few changes.
Yeah.
So, operative selection. Including ancillary support, you can only select up to 2 operatives equipped with weapons that have the AP2 special rule, even if only in one of their profiles. The Interrogator and Tome School operatives change GA characteristic to 2, and they fulfill each other's group activation requirements. Absolute Authority Tactical Ploy cannot be used to stop the same ploy more than once a battle, or a ploy that no CP was spent on.
So let's work through each one. I think maybe the first one is too much. Because
if you played Elites into 5...
No. So, sorry, what I meant was, I think they've gone for 2. I think they should have gone for 3. And the reason why I say that is because the team itself comes with a plasma pistol, a plasma cannon, right? And if you run all Inquisition, so the whole roster, you get a multi-melter as well. That's 3. And then let's say you take Kazakin. So you've got a plasma pistol in the team and a plasma cannon in the team, which you're probably always taking.
Grenade launcher and sniper?
Yeah, so then you're like, well, why are you taking Kazakin? Right, like, why wouldn't you take Vet Guard, who's a better sniper, and the demo, who's AP1, so you could take him. So, like, it's really changed the roster options. Like,
yeah.
It's completely mixed it up. But, like, it has, unfortunately, said to Kazakin, really the only model you're bringing is sniper and the comms. It's like, those are the ones that you're bringing.
Kazakin comms is good. We like
He's great comms. Like, really good comms. But, generically, breaches are just better. Like, and, like, I think you always take breaches now.
And these AP1, the grenade, the demo grenade?
AP1.
So he's fine.
He doesn't care. The Las volley they can bring is relentless, no AP.
Get the cat.
The
amazing.
cat's good, really good. Endurance, really good. Axe Jack's really good. Hatch Cut's really good. Their 7 wounds, the 4-up saves, they're all really good. Don't really see why you wouldn't. But like, because also this is kind of the weird thing is like there's so many other teams that have that much AP. So
yeah,
like,
I was just trying to think that, but I think most have got like a 2 AP2 ceiling. So why have a 3 now? Seems a bit unfair.
Well, they only,
is fair.
Yeah, they only have 2. But like, let's say you play Kazakin, you get Melt Gun, Plasma Gun, and the leader.
That's true. Okay, but he at least does it. Yeah, he does it.
And then like,
instead, yeah.
I'm trying to think who else has got that much.
And
AP,
they only hit on 4s.
with their elite points. But there's a few options.
That's true.
I guess you have to draw the line somewhere. Oh, and I guess Kazakin also have the mine, so they have 4. But like, you have to draw the options line somewhere. I think 5 was way too much. like it was frankly way too much. I'm glad they dialed it down. I think 2 probably slightly too far. I would like to have seen 3 personally, because like Inquisition struggle with reliable shooting. They don't have elite points. They have Quarry, which is one option, and it's not that good. And the other change, which we're going to come on to, is they changed Absolute Authority, which is going to completely change the math on this. So I think 3 would have been good. Because elites, the thing that Absolute Authority was really, really mean with was like, let's say you played against Legionary, and they go, I've brought to Zench, and I have my 4-up vulnerable save, and you go, nope, and you say, nope, every turn, that is like so oppressive. Mutagenic Flesh, nope, and so suddenly these weapons that normally they're pretty resilient to, actually they become not resilient to. But you can do it for free now. and if you do it for free, it can't be noped. So like now you get it's like your Zench player goes, oh, you bought all this AP? I don't care. Like I'm gonna do my free Zench ploy, and I'm gonna have a 4-up invuln, and they go, oh right, damn, and then suddenly you don't have the reliable shooting to deal with that. So you're gonna have to bring in some melee guys. But so that's a really interesting change, and it also really helps out Necrons. Hierotek Circle hated the no to their.
Yeah, that was unfair. I don't, it's just one of those things where you don't really think about it, I think, when you're creating the rules. But yeah,
Yeah, and it's all like the weird meta interactions that work between each other, and it's like, this team was probably in design at the same time as the other team, and I don't know when they finalise one rule set and they do the other, but like, you never really know what these outcomes are going to be. So I think, in my personal opinion, I think part of their reliability came from taking AP, so that although they wouldn't get very many hits, it would have some of the AP. So that's why I think 3 would have been nice. It would have given Kazakin a bit of play.
What if Games Workshop offered you a 3rd AP for Inquisition, but they're going to nerf Intercession again? They're just that's the trade-off.
Leave my boys alone. They don't deserve it. So I that's kind of where I'm at. But I'm not unhappy with it. And the reason I'm not unhappy with it is because, and this is we're going back to the Felgal Ravagers point, which is I don't want to play a game where there's just like, you brought the wrong team today. I have this team, you have this team, there is nothing you can do.
Yeah.
And there was a bit of that when it came to that matchup. It was like, I have so much AP, I'm just going to wreck you. You're not going to roll saving throws because I'm just going to remove your ability to do it.
You don't even need to just stand there and watch, because you're not rolling dice.
And like Quarry, like Denounce and Quarry are really good against elites as well, so they already have some really good abilities against it. And I think that was just like, really harsh. So, that's my main point on that one. Going back to Absolute Authority, good change. This is what we wanted, right? It's like, I don't want it to become once a game, because they already have like Denounce, which is once a game ploy, Absolute Authority on once a game ploy. Just like you just keep taking more away from the team, they're gonna have nothing left, right? And so I think this is nice. It gives you a bit of change, a bit of like options. Like, do I deny that just a scratch now? Is this the one in the game that I really want to stop, or is it the one like next turn? Like, is this the and I like that sort of decision making where you go, actually maybe this isn't the right call. I think that's or at least makes you think about it rather than just, I'm going to do that this turn, and I'm going to do it next turn, and do it turn after.
Yeah.
So that's really nice.
You talk about like player enjoyment. It's not very fun to be on the receiving end of that and just getting told no, and you're not getting CP refunded.
Particularly if it was like your team's thing, right? Yeah. Like Necrons was probably the most heinous version of it, where it's like, my team has a cool thing where they come back to life, and you go, no.
Well, it's funny the first time.
Yeah, the first time's funny. And then after that, it gets surprisingly less funny. It's like the old Worthy Cause, where it was like, so I'm just going to keep activating models until all yours are dead, and then you can play?
Yeah.
Oh, right. Is that fun? So I like that change. That's pretty good. And then the last change is the group activation 2 on the leader.
Interrogate and Tome Skull.
Yeah, so now him and his skull are GA2. I love this change. And it's not for the reason I think a lot of people think it is. It is a nerf, and I do agree with that, because you're going down to 12 activations or 11, but actually that's probably good for the speed of the game. You want to be moving through the activations quicker, and almost everything now is being curtailed between 6 and 12, which is probably a good way to go. 13 is too many. And also you can already guarantee taking the first turn, or like 14 opponents have first go, so you're already going to be in an advantage. But the reason why I like it is actually everyone shits on this leader, keeps telling everyone how bad he is, right? The poor guy. But now he's got a bit of GA2. He can actually, you can do some interesting stuff with him, right? So now you can be like, actually my leader's going to have the -1 attack dice. Right? He's going to be a defensive dude, and the skull is going to be the offensive dude. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to GA2 it so that he moves next to the guy that I want to charge or shoot, and I'm going to move into range, and now I'm going to shoot you. And they do this little double action thing, and it's like, I'm going to protect the skull, he's going to protect me, and we're going to go around and we're going to denounce people and sanctify stuff. Whether it's denounce? No, what was the, not denounce, whatever the word is. Anyway, you move around, you do this, right? And you can, and it just gives you a little bit more, interesting stuff with your leader. And I think that's gonna be really fun, and it just adds another level to it. And that's why I like it. Is they've done something there which I didn't expect them to do, which was they've tweaked it in a way which again is just giving you more choice, and I really like that. So I think this is a fantastic balanced data slate. Could not have come at a better time. Everyone was like worried about the competitive scene, all that sort of stuff. This has come out absolutely perfect timing, ideal, and I think all the changes
very welcome data set. I think.
Yeah, they're all really good changes.
Going back to Inquisitorial Agent there. So you said this is the Tome Skull and the Interrogator. It's giving you more choice, and this is a team with a very big toolbox. It's 30 model operatives, and you've just said, right, you're losing your AP2 weapons. Now you're like, why do I even take Kazakin? Let's use this as a chance to just think about like who's filling in those rosters. Have you thought about that? Do sisters get a look in now? Like what's going on?
It's a really really good point. So because we actually did an episode, one of the things that have come out, which is like Inquisition choices. We've recorded that before, and then they're just like, oh okay. We have just completely changed that. So you're actually right. So this is a live Patreon priority question, which we'll do. So yeah, how does it affect the roster choice? Great question. So breaches for me are looking real good. Like I think they are the go-to option. Like if you're unsure what you're taking, I think you take breaches. I think you take the Endurant. I think you take a Las Volley. I think you take an Axe Jack. I think you take the Surveyor. You take the Cat, that's 5, right? And who else is the last one you get? You get... Who is it? Oh, Grenadier. The absolute best model in the team, obviously. So you take those 6, right? That's going to give you 12 activations. All of them are really reliable. They all hit on 3s, like apart from the Las Volley, who's relentless. Nice. The other guys have shotguns or melee weapons. They're hitting on 3s. Love it. The comms guy's really good because he's just within 6 inches. You don't need visibility, so you can do it through walls. Nice. He can also do it through the Cat. Nice. So he's giving you a bit more flex on where you want your APL to be. He's going to get someone out of heavy cover for you. That works fantastically if, let's say, you had a team that had a blast plasma cannon. Like, boom, that's what you want. So that synergy right there is money. And I think that's really, really good. And then my other option is going to be, I think, RBTs. And the reason I like RBTs is because they're so good against melee teams, right? So, like, breaches will still be good because you have 12 operators and they're good at the game. But they hit on 3s again, and they can shoot into combat, and they get that P1, and they have lots of options to lethal 5 and that sort of stuff. So the Marksman's really good. The Revelatum's good. Now you're lethal 5 and P1, like, that's pretty nice. And that's just when your friends are near. So, like this again, this like the sweet sauce that I'm talking about. You put that skull with the attack thing on it next to someone within 2 inches, and then your like Revelatum goes, oh hello buddy, boom. I'm now rolling 5 attack dice, hitting on 3s, lethal 5, PU1. Like it's looking for those mortal wounds, wherever it's going to be. Like that's some big damage. You want to put down elite, like you get your marksman up there with 4 or 3 mortal wounds each time he rolls a 5 or a 6, and you're rolling 5 attack dice. You get even balance. Like that's a lot of things. So like. Really cool stuff. So I like that a lot. I think those are my 2 main picks, and I think you give yourself a few more roster options in that. Vet Guard are definitely worth considering. The demo is just great. Sniper is great. Hitting on 2s is a reliability all in itself, you know.
Spotter?
You can't take the spotter in that.
He's
not one. And that's kind of why I shun away from Vet Guard a little bit, because you take the sniper, you take the demo, and then you take like the hardened, and then I'm like running out of who you take. Do you take GA2 to give yourself some GA2? Maybe, but I don't know. Like my gut says you're better off just taking breaches, like and then having the option. And because on for instance on a map, like let's say you look at the terrain and you go, in this board, I need the hatch cutter. Like, I need to be able to get through that wall there. That's stopping my entire team. Well, having that in the toolbox is just incredible. And then, like for instance, I also like you could take the Leash Master and the Side Mastiff in your roster, and then you could be like, oh, actually, having a like a long range melee threat that's lethal 5, relentless. That could be really nice. Maybe you're leaning hard on Seek and Destroy, because one of the things about Seek and Destroy is it's a melee focused tack op. Like it really is. Like you can do it shooting, but like you want to have melee operatives. Rob and Ransack, Rout, those are just better scored by doing that. And killing someone on an objective like Eliminate Guards is good. Combine that with some sort of reliable means of doing it. Like if you've got like a lethal 5 power weapon that's got Reap 2 and you've got a 5 up Feel No Pain, like, oh, beautiful. So like you can then look at it and go, in this matchup I want this. Maybe it's the Relentless Dog. Maybe it's the I don't know, whatever it's going to be, like the cat or whatever. So I think you lean hard into the Exaction Squad, RBTs, and the Navy Breaches, and you just give yourself more roster options in them. I think Kazakin get dropped now because they were there for your weird, like, super anti elite pick, and now you don't need it. I don't think.
Well, now you can't have it. So.
Well, yeah, you can't field it all at the same time. And there's part of me that goes, maybe like the Gun Servitor, taking the Heavy Bolter isn't a bad idea, but I just feel Blast is better. Like having that Blast plasma cannon, generically
so, just being in your opponent's head like that. Like that's an AP2 Blast. Like I've got to space out, and then they're now putting models where they don't want to be. Like Blast is a nightmare anyway. An AP2 like 5 damage. Oh my god.
Yeah.
No, I'm not having that.
Yeah, so I think you're pretty much always taking him. There is like the maths though is so good if you take him with the multi-motor against like Intercession. Like it's got like with
Infinite range, isn't it?
if you take the Mystic, to being able to flip into a crit is just so nice, because if you roll a crit natively and you just make another one into a crit, like, oh, that's a lot of mortal wounds just gone through.
Yes.
And suddenly it's like, oh, like I've just taken whatever it is 8 mortal wounds and I'm dead because I've got 2 crits and a hit, whatever. And it's like, boom. Or you just convert it, whatever. But like, you know what I mean? You can do a lot of damage there. And so I think that's really cool as a toolbox option. So I think my gut says Breaches are your go-to. They're your bread and butter. And then I think after that you got our BTs. But it does kind of raise a question to me, which is like, are you better just taking Breaches like just on their own? Like, do they just have all the tools that you want? Our Inquisition now slightly too, I think it's slightly too unreliable. I don't know, because you get the Relentless from the shotgun, Relentless from the stuff, but
Breaches are. I mean, that's probably the fact that you're unsure and you have to question it shows that the meta's in a better place now.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. The fact that we're even going, oh, which team's best?
Yeah.
Like we should probably do a tier list, but that's going to be hard to do.
It might take some research to actually think about this.
I think some games on the table as well. Like we need to get some games in and be like, what team is actually good right now? Because so much has changed. And the interesting about Inquisition as well is because they're a team of teams, each one of those teams getting buffed or nerfed like affects them.
Yeah.
So if Breach has suddenly got like hit with a massive nerf bat, then they would just like their entire team dynamic would completely change. And if our BTs get buffed again, they might become like super, super strong through an RBTs buff, you know, or whatever it's going to be. So there's some interesting stuff there. But I guess on your point earlier, I don't think he takes this as science, no. But yeah, is that it? I think that's it, right?
Yeah.
Well, thank you for listening. Slightly different format. And Nelson has just arrived, which means for us, that's time for us to sign off. So thank you so much for listening. This has been Turning Point Tactics, and we'll see you next week.
See you next week.